Mending Hearts.
Good morning, everybody. So good to see everybody here today. I'm glad to be connected with all of you, to be here to connect back with God this morning. This past week, I've just been reading so much about God's heart longing to connect with us, and also reigniting our desire to long for one another, to want to be reconnected, to want to rekindle our relationships, to long for our brothers and sisters, to long for those that are sick and lost. And so today we want to share, continuing on this idea of love works, that love is the answer that everybody is seeking. Love is the thing that God uses to create, initiate, and multiply life here on earth, that love is what God is calling us towards, and sometimes we need to find ways to fix it, to bring it back together. And today we're continuing on this. One thing that really hit my heart this week also was this idea that everything God wanted to teach us is in the family, right? Everything. We have a family pledge that we make a commitment as a family of what we're going to do, how we're going to attend God, how we're going to love our spouse, our kids, our brothers and sisters. We have all these instructions, and they're written right in our family. Even one thing I was reading from Father Moon was saying, God is sad that he wasn't able to hand us the textbook of being a child and the textbook of a brother and sister and textbook of a spouse. And these things seem so simple that sometimes we write it off, love and brother and sister. And we go, oh, there has to be a more complex way to save this world. Oh, we need to write up big laws or big legislation, right, to fix the world, or some doctor has to come and prescribe the medicine to fix this world, when right in front of us, the answer has been there this whole time: our family, and the way of being a son or a daughter, the way to attend our parents, and the way to receive love, and the way to accept that love and return it back to our parents. That's an instruction manual for how we ought to live, and how to be a good brother or sister is the pathway for us to find unity and harmony and unite different religions, different backgrounds, different people. And the way to be a good spouse is an instruction on how we ought to love one another and create love and initiate love in all of our relationships. How to be a parent, right? God has been teaching us all along. It's been right in front of our faces. But it's really, really hard, actually. It's so simple, but it's so hard. And that's why I believe we often look for another way. Oh, maybe if I do some conditions. Honestly, it's easier sometimes than loving my brother. To pray, to do cold shower, to read more. It feels like that's easier, right? We might not say it. We might say, oh, I'm going to do this really difficult thing. I'm going to do this complex way of perfecting my heart, of being a better person, because loving our spouse might be too big of a bill to pay. We might go, oh, that sounds really hard, actually. Forgiving them, loving them, uniting with them, connecting with them, fixing relationships, it's really challenging. And so that's why I think the world is always looking. There's got to be something outside the family that we can fix this world with. But God designed one thing to guide us, to teach us, to govern this world, to be the model for the kingdom of heaven, and that's our family. And so today we're going into mending hearts. Mending hearts. How do we resolve our pain and anguish? I don't know about you, but has anybody ever been hurt by someone they really love? You have been. Wow. Has anybody ever hurt someone else? Right? Even sometimes we know we're about to do it. We're going to say the word, and we want to hold our tongue, but we still say it. We can't pull it back. And sometimes those hurts are still there. There's some relationships that you have not been able to get fully back into that intimacy yet, because there's something behind it all, right? There's some kind of hurt, some kind of pain, some kind of unspoken resentment that we're harboring or they're harboring. We know that there could be some words we could use to fix it, but it's really hard to get those words out. But we need to mend hearts. We need to find ways to resolve our love, resolve our relationships. Because when we figure it out in our family, we create a pathway for the rest of this world to start figuring it out in the bigger world, in the bigger picture. So today we're going to be talking about this desire to have relationships. Everybody here wants to have loving relationships, right? Everybody here wants to have a marriage that's actually fulfilling and exciting to be a part of, a relationship where they want to listen to you, you want to listen to them. Everybody wants a brother or sister or friend that you can fully lay out your heart to, right? You want to have those connections. You want to be able to call up your brother anytime you need to talk. We all have this desire, but oftentimes something gets in the way. And it might be easier to isolate ourselves, to spend Friday night alone watching Netflix that won't judge us, or reading a book that won't say anything to us, rather than pick up the phone and connect or go out and see people. But we desire to have these relationships. It's just hard to get there. God says, beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God abides in us and his love is perfected in us. Love is the key to bringing God into this world. I don't know about you, but I believe absolutely God needs to be residing in this world, that we need to make more places where God is residing. We need to have God residing in our coffee shops, in our schools, in our families. But it's not just a proclamation or some word that's going to be on a board, but it's when God's love lives within us, when we love one another, when we embrace one another. And love isn't just a kissy, lovey-dovey kind of thing, but it's about grace and generosity and kindness. It's about building one another up. There's so many facets of love that we need to invest into all our relationships so God can enter into this world. Because we are all geared for love. We're geared for relationships. God created this world with this idea that it works when we're in relationship, right? What happens when you have a gear over here and a gear over here? They can spin as fast as you want. You can even put more force on them. But if they're not connected, they're not moving anything, right? God designed us not to be a bunch of gears separated, but to be in relationship. And it's amazing how these relationships are interconnected. We have one family here that's got a brother-in-law over here that connects to this chain and that chain, and the whole world ought to be connected. But the problem is the whole world has been disconnected. And so where there should be love, where there should be a relationship, where we should be able to see each other as brothers and sisters, we see each other as separate machines competing. And nothing works. It only works when it's working together. God designed us to be geared together, to be relating with one another. But what happens is we get gunk in between the wheels. We get friction between those wheels. The parts wear out because of resentments. Right? We hold something against someone else. We have jealousy and envy. Gets in between those relationships and they start to break apart. We have anger, even justified anger, but it gets in the way and starts blocking those relationships. Those gears try and churn, but then they break off. They separate. We have a broken world because we have broken relationships. We have a broken world because love is not being transmitted through our relationships. We have blocked off all the conduits for God's love to flow freely. So we need to find out how to mend these hearts, how to open these doors and reunite people with their parent. We don't have orphans. We don't have a bunch of people looking for love, looking for relationships. When we are the answer, we are the opportunity, we are the chance that someone can have a family again, that someone can find God again. We are that opportunity. We don't need to look around for some major thing to happen, but we need to be the answer to resolve those hearts. Because this is what it feels like when we are hurt. When someone walks out on you, someone you really loved and trusted, someone you felt like you could always depend on, and then they said something behind your back, and you realized something bad about them, and it hurt you and it broke you, and you feel like Humpty Dumpty, all the pieces of your heart, they're all scattered around, right? And no great word or anything you've read has helped you. you feel like nothing is putting those pieces back together. We need to resolve those issues. It happens mostly from the people we love, right? How much does it hurt if it's some guy at the gas station, calls out a name to you or blows you off? You don't really care, right? But if someone you love even says a small misstep in their word, even just makes a little slip up, it can hurt a lot. And we can hold on to it the rest of the day. You wake up and your kid kind of looks at you funny and it can throw you off the whole day. Your spouse says something, she doesn't really receive what you were excited to share with her about, and you kind of get mad at her for the rest of the day. You hold on to it. The pieces of your heart are broken. Your brother, you always thought you could depend on him, but when you really needed him, he was busy. He might have been justifiably busy, but it hurt you because you thought, hey, he should have been there for me. And so we break these relationships apart. We hurt. We're lost. We're alone. And we stop engaging in these relationships. I'm never going to trust my brother again. Yeah, I've been with him for 40 years, but I can't deal with his junk anymore, right? I'm not going to get let down again. I'm not going to let my heart get broken again. But you know what? When we choose not to re-engage, our heart's already broken. We're not able to have that relationship, and we might pretend like it doesn't hurt us, but we are lost. We are broken people in that situation. So how many of us are holding broken pieces of our heart, trying to put it together, or trying to ignore that aspect because we haven't been able to reconnect with a sibling, a longtime friend, someone we considered a brother or sister? Maybe your parents, you haven't been able, they said something to you, they didn't support you, and you're mad at them. They weren't there enough when you were growing up, and you're mad at them, you're holding on to it. Maybe they got divorced, and that hurt you, and you're mad at them. You feel like all the pieces of your heart are broken, are scattered around, and you're looking, how do I have love? How can I trust someone again? So we need to find a way to mend our hearts, to put it back together. This is a concept of the principle. This is a concept of the Bible. How are we restoring hearts? How are we restoring the original relationships? Again, we might not think family is such a big deal. What does this have to do with the salvation of the world and the kingdom of heaven? Well, it has everything to do because it was the first family, right? The husband against the wife, the children against one another. They didn't feel like they had anyone to turn to, and they fought each other. It was a mending hearts problem that's passed on generation to generation. We're experiencing it right now in our own families. So much, sometimes we want to help heal the world or bring God's word to the world, but we have a breakdown in our own family. We need to find a way to restore this. This isn't a judgment, but an opportunity to start restoring these, to find ways, to find the strength, to find the power, to start restoring these, stitching back together the pieces of our broken heart. Because love is not destructive. It is not meant to be destructive. It only builds and blossoms. When each of you creates your own love foundation, bearing such a blossom of love, then God will become one with you. It's even been said, often it's said love hurts, but actually love is the only thing that doesn't hurt. Love is the only thing that heals. Love is the only thing that has a possibility of restoring our hurts. It's the absence of love that you've experienced. The times when you didn't feel connected to someone that hurt you, right? It wasn't because someone loved you. It was because you felt they didn't love you. That you're angry at them, that you're hurting towards them, that they're hurting towards you. And maybe you didn't mean to, but it doesn't absolve the pain. It doesn't make the pain disappear. We have to find a way to restore that, right? Because we all desire these relationships. We desire to have a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a family of people that connect with us, that want to hear us, that want to talk with us, that want to share our problems with us. But what happens when someone leaves you out, right? You thought you were part of the group, and then they plan something, they go out and they go play a game together, they go make a new business together, and you thought you were part of them, and then they up and left you out. And you feel so much hurt, right? Why wasn't I a part of that? Do they not like me? Is it something I said? Is it something I did? And then you go through this whole self-doubt thing, right? Oh, what it is? It's probably because I brought the wrong casserole last month, and they didn't like it. Now they're not inviting me anymore, right? Or maybe you said something wrong and you knew it was kind of off, and you just play this whole self-doubt in your head, and it starts to tear you up. And it's no longer even about whether you were left out. Now you're going through all this toxic mindset of all the bad things about you. You feel lost and you feel alone. Maybe someone told a joke, but it didn't translate well to you and you got kind of mad. I'm guilty of this way too often. I say jokes and I think they're really funny, and my wife or my kids don't get it. And then I have to apologize profusely. I was joking, but we have to be careful, right? I've learned this. I'm still learning it every day. But I think I'm getting better at it. But you just tell a light joke and suddenly it puts a poison in a relationship, right? You say something, someone comes to you for compassion and you kind of cut them off and say, hey, why don't you clean up your act? The problem's your own making, right? And they were like, wow. They feel hurt, and the poison hits in your relationship between parents and kids or between brothers and sisters, right? We desire these relationships, but when we get cut off, we feel isolated and alone. And this separation is what causes all the problems that we see in the world. Really, it seems too simple, but really this is it. When people are alone, when they feel isolated, when they feel separate, God's love is not flowing through, and people start doing destructive things to themselves and to others. When you've been hurt, right, that's the time when you start saying nasty things to others. You let those things. When you're feeling good and happy and positive and you feel loved and secure, you don't say those things, right? We act poorly in this world because we are isolated, because we feel like no one cares about us, because we feel separate, and we've all been there before. So we need to find, how do we mend our hearts and the hearts of others? We need to find, what are the tools that can fix this? There has to be a way that we can start putting these pieces back together, how we can start rebuilding these foundations. I believe there has to be. Even in your families, you might have written it off already. You might say, hey, I've tried, but this relationship will never be healed. And I've just got to go forward. Right? But there has to be a way to restore it. If we believe that God is trying to restore this world, well, God's got to be able to restore what's happening in my marriage, what's happening in my parent-child relationship. It starts with these words, and this is what I was saying. One of the hardest things in the world are the really simple things, so we avoid it. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Some of the hardest words to ever utter, right? When you know you made a mistake and hey, if I can just go say I'm sorry, if I can just start making amends, we could probably fix this. Sometimes, it could probably even be really quick, but you're not willing to because you're scared, right? I know this is one of my hardest things, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that, because now I'm admitting to my mistakes, or maybe they're going to think I'm weak, or maybe they're going to, it's going to confirm what I think about myself. I don't know. It's just a really hard thing to do. But this is the first key. This is the answer. Going out and saying, I'm sorry. Going out and saying, hey, please forgive me. Going out and saying, hey, I made a mistake. Opens a doorway. It opens a doorway. It doesn't fix everything, but it opens the door for things to be fixed, because only love can explain this. Only God's love can work this kind of magic to restore a broken relationship, a marriage that's been in the gutter for 10 years, a parent-child relationship that's been disconnected. Only God's love can do the magic that fixes it. Love opens every door, including the door to the kingdom of heaven. So saying, I'm sorry, saying I was wrong, saying I hurt you, is the first way to open up that door to let God's love in. Right? The first way that we open that door. And it's so hard sometimes. It's so challenging. But we need to open this door and let God do the work. We need to open the door to let His love flow through to resolve that deep pain that you feel. And oftentimes you're going to do it for things that you don't even feel responsible for, quite frankly, right? How many times have you hurt someone and you didn't mean to, or maybe it was just a business decision, maybe it was just a company decision. You weren't trying to hurt them, but it hurt them anyways. And you know they're holding it against you, but you don't really feel responsible for it. Or you think, hey, you know what? He can take responsibility for himself and realize he should have stood up more. He should have taken, more of a decision in that. And he could have fixed it himself, right? And so we don't want to say sorry. But we've got to open this door. And it doesn't mean you're assuming all the blame, but you're opening a door for God's love to come in. There's three big things that we hear in the principle, right? To resolve relationships. This is restoration here. Now, we always use this word of restoration. I felt very disconnected from it because it's something on a global, national level that has nothing to do with me. But when it comes to my marriage, it has a lot to do with me. When it comes to my relationship with my parents, it has a lot to do with me. We have to fix these relationships, and we have these principles, right? So there's lesser indemnity, equal indemnity, and greater indemnity. Sometimes when you hurt someone, all you need to do, it's so simple. We're afraid of it, but sometimes all it is just saying, I'm sorry. You broke someone, you rear-ended someone, and whatever, right? You hurt someone, you broke their heart, you mistook, you said the wrong word, right? And you just say, I'm sorry. Right there, in that moment, that person can go, oh, thanks, that's all I needed to hear. I just wanted to know that you cared enough about me to say sorry. That you actually cared, that you didn't just write this off, right? And right away it can be resolved. Sometimes our relationships are that simple. And that might be your case. Maybe you're thinking of someone right now. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call them up. And they've just been waiting there for 10 years. When are they going to call me? I just want to reconnect with them. I just want to talk with them. That might be the first step. Maybe it's equal indemnity. Maybe you've got to fix what you broke. Maybe you've got to pay something back. You hurt someone and you've got to think, what is it that I have to give to make this equal, make this repaired, make this whole again? And sometimes it's greater. Sometimes you've really hurt someone. And just a simple sorry doesn't do it. Just fixing it doesn't do it. But you've got to show, I'm not going to do it again. You can trust on me again, right? Because some people, they want to forgive you. They want to be like, yeah, let's get back to normal. But, I can't trust you anymore. I look at you and I know what you did to my heart, and I'm just not going to put myself there again. So you've got to do something above and beyond. So you got to look at these things in your own life, in your own family, in your own marriage, right? How do I forgive my spouse for things that they shouldn't have done, words they shouldn't have spoken, responsibilities they shouldn't have neglected? How do I forgive them? This is a two-way street. It's not just about you seeking forgiveness. How do you forgive? How do you give that opening for someone else that they can restore their relationship? I look at this world and there's so many accusations, right? Left and the right, and the black and the white, and the, this group and that group. Everybody has an accusation, some hurt they're carrying on. Sometimes I believe as believers, as people that are connected to God, we are the ones to take the first step. It sucks to hear that, to think about that, to be like, oh, I have to take responsibility for something they did. Sometimes we have to. We've got to open a doorway for God's love to come in. Look at Jesus Christ up on the cross. He took on sins of other people, knowing he did not deserve it, but willing to take it on so that others could move forward again. He sacrificed his hopes, his dreams, everything he was hoping for up there for the sake of other people. He didn't deserve it. But he created a pathway that we can follow to start fixing past mistakes, past problems. Sometimes we have to pay a greater price than we think we owe, but it opens the doorway for God's love to come in. When I look at it, it comes back to this story. Jacob and Esau, we know it well. Jacob is coming back from his 21 years suffering, left everything he had. Esau is sitting at home. He's suffering. He's thinking about all the terrible things that Jacob ever did to him. Maybe he's going back to when Jacob was 2 years old and he stole my ball. He's got all these things that have been building up, all this hatred that he's built up over the years. How much he's looking forward to the day he can kill his brother because he deserved it. And Jacob comes back and he starts sending everything he's ever created, everything he's gained over the years. He says, I'm going to give it all to my brother. Did he have to do that? Was that the equal payment? He gave much more. His family, his children, he was saying, hey, take it all. I know I messed you over, man. I know I screwed up. But let's resolve this. Let's put it in the past and let's move forward. And when he got to his brother, he had moved his heart so much that he actually said, I don't need any of it. He kept saying, hey, take this, take this. And he goes, no, I don't need it. I've got enough land. Oh, take this, take this. No, I don't need it. I've got enough family. Esau was already moved. He put it all behind, all those murderous thoughts, all that stuff that's been sitting in his mind for 21 years, his hatred for his brother, dissolved in a moment. No, please, Jacob insists, please take this. If I have found favor in your eye, accept this gift from me, for to see your face is like seeing the face of God now that you have received me favorably. Like that verse in 1 John where it said, where love is, God abides. In that moment, a door opened up. It wasn't about the stuff that happened in the past. It wasn't about anything. It was about knowing that his brother actually cared for him, actually took responsibility for his mistake, his hurt, and was making an effort to make it whole again. And Esau could drop it all. And they embraced and they cried. 21 years they lost each other. 21 years of a relationship that's forever gone. But in that moment, they embraced each other. The power of forgiveness to open these doors, to stop warring nations, to stop race divisions, to stop class divisions, all this junk. We put each other in little boxes, but actually we're brothers and sisters, and we have to find a way to resolve it, just like he did. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. We're actually commanded to go out and forgive. Look for ways to open these doors. Look for ways to resolve these relationships. Look for ways to let God back into this world. I believe we're called to go out and seek forgiveness and seek places we can forgive others for. I believe God needs us to go out into this world and start giving out forgiveness. Just give it out. Hey, I know you didn't ask for it, but I forgive you. Hey, I know that you don't deserve it. I know that you haven't changed your ways yet, but I forgive you. I'm opening this door. How can we move forward? I know that you haven't earned it yet. I know that you might still make the same mistake, but I'm going to forgive you. How many times? 7 times 70, right? Let's just go out and forgive. Let's open doors. Let's open doors that people can have love back in their relationships. That people can start seeing God when they look into your face. What kind of hope would we bring back to this world? All these angers and resentments are real. People are holding on to them. And they're looking for someone to acknowledge them, recognize them. And then they can put it down. All these problems we can start resolving. Because this whole world needs it. This is what I look at. There's 7.8 billion people that fight against each other. That there are resources that we have, that other people need, that we all are fighting against each other. We're all trying to take advantage of what we think is a limited resource, not realizing that we have access to enough resources for everybody, and more so. We can all live well, but we've got to start loving one another. We've got to start sharing kindness and opportunity, opening up doorways. Some people have grown up without parents. Some people have grown up without family. Some people have grown up without things that we take for granted. We need to go out and love other people, share God's love, share His inspiration so that they can start reclaiming their life. It doesn't mean you have to provide everything for them, but we need to open a doorway that God's love can start resolving what's in their heart. and move them forward. We always remember this slogan, forgive, love, unite. It starts with forgiveness. We need to seek forgiveness. We need to seek forgiveness for what we've done wrong. Admit our mistakes, our shortcomings. It's not saying, hey, you're a terrible person. We all make mistakes. It's okay. So we need to seek forgiveness, and we need to give forgiveness. We need to go out and go, hey, you know what happened 20 years ago? I'm over it now. Let's move on. Let's rebuild this relationship. Then we need to seek to love, which means to give, to invest in others. To seek, how can I build you up? How can I give into your life? How can I invest and make you a better person? And then we can unite. Bring this world back to God. A bunch of brothers and sisters running around, fighting each other, saying, he's got more than me. Oh, she's got the ice cream. This isn't fair. We're all fighting against each other. But we need parents right now. We need people to come in and be like, hey, okay, I understand all the hurts and stuff. We're going to fix this, right? I'm going to love you, and we're going to be united under our Heavenly Parent. We're going to come back. I'm going to be the big brother. I'm going to be the big sister in this situation. I'm going to give up my ice cream, whatever. Let's just move forward again. We open these doorways so that all of us can live in one family. And so today I want to encourage us to think about these hearts. Your marriage is not just a simple little marriage. Your relationship with your brother and sister, it's not just something simple that you can move on without. It's actually a key to building the kingdom of heaven. Finding a way to restore these relationships. Finding a way to allow intimacy to come back into that relationship, into your family, into your friendships. By forgiving one another, forgiveness. Just giving forgiveness, giving it and pouring it out. Seeking it for the wrongs you've done. God is calling us towards this. Because God is looking for restoration. God is looking for one world to be united under Him again, and we are the key to it. So I want to encourage you to think about this week, to look at how you can mend your own heart and how you can mend the heart of others. How we can be a part of the solution in bringing this world back to God. Let's pray. Good morning, God, our Heavenly Parent. We are glad to be in your presence this morning. To be under you, to be connected to you. God, we know that you are challenging us sometimes. It's not always easy to follow your path, and sometimes it's easier to just live our own life. But God, we are trying to bring a better world for our children, a better world for our neighbors, a better world for future generations. And we know it starts with us, God. So help us be peacemakers. Help us be love makers, God. Help us be mercy givers. God, help us to start opening doorways for your love to come into this world. As we strive to mend our own hearts and the hearts of others, as we strive to bring grace back into this world and give people a chance to start living the life they should live. A life devoted to you, connected to you as their Heavenly Parent. A life where they can multiply love in their families. A life where they can start giving back to this world. Giving back to the greater good. God, we want to offer our hearts to you, God, that you can count on us to reach out this week, to make that decision to pick up the phone this week, to sit down with someone that's hurt us and spend time with them, to mend our broken heart. God, we want to offer this to you, and we want to pray for all those that are sick and hurting right now, those that are going through difficulty and challenging times, those that are dealing with addictions, those that are dealing with physical sickness. God, we lift them up to you. They can start to learn how to resolve what's going on in them and move forward in life. God, please bring healing into this world. Help us to follow the example of our two parents and be parents to our communities, parents in our families. Have that love towards one another. God, we want to offer this day to you with thanks and gratitude. And we pray this in all of our names as blessed such families as your sons and daughters, God. And in your holy name, amen. Let's take a moment to join in unison prayer.
Move forward, God, help us to be more like you.
God, we offer these prayers to you. Our hopes and dreams for our family, and our hopes and dreams for this world. We pray this in all of our names gathered here. Amen. Amen. Thank you, everybody, for being with us this morning, that we can share this word and connect with this. And I want to encourage us to find a pair, find someone to sit with this morning, and share a little bit what's on your heart, what's on your mind from this week, as we encourage one another. And begin. Hi, everyone. We want to thank you for joining with us this morning. If you'd like to call someone or reach out to a brother or sister, please do so. If someone's with you, please share with them for a few minutes. But we are so grateful that you could spend this time with us this morning. We pray it was a blessing upon you, and we wish you a wonderful week. God bless you all.